Healing the Metaverse, transforming healthcare for a virtual future.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. I'm happy to be here. They try to block me behind the counter here so that I'm not moving too much around. So let's do a health check, a pulse check before. So who is less than 26 years old here? Okay, so that's the Gen Z guys, huh? So who is between 27 and 42? It's already a little bit more, the millennials. You don't know? Show me your passport. And who is between 48 and 50, no, 42 and 58? So it's becoming less, huh? And who is more than 59 years old? I'm the only one, oh my God. Maybe I'm in the wrong conference, you know? Or maybe I'm exactly in the right one, you know? I'm feeling younger now. So today I want to talk about healing the metaverse, transforming healthcare for a virtual future. So maybe, I think it's a little bit provocative, you know? Why healing the metaverse, you know? Is the metaverse sick? You know, so we have a huge discussion always in healthcare between sick care and healthcare. I think there's a big difference, and I would like the metaverse to become also something about healthcare and not sick care. So what is the metaverse? We can talk for hours about definitions, but let's go a little bit back. You know, it's nothing new. It's just now that we talk more about the metaverse in many different places and industries. So if you look, a lot of people talk about Ready Player One as a movie. So Ready Player One is 2018, is already 5 years old. Avatar, not the new one, the first one, 2009. And if you want to talk about Matrix, it's even 1999. So this topic is not really new, you know, but what I would like to highlight here also is that quite often this science fiction movie, you know, and the technology is enabling that you go to this technology. But for me, they are very often very negative. It's catastrophic scenario. It's not nice stories. You know, in the Western world, we are used to make, you know, make people frightened about those topics. But if you think, for example, Avatar, if some people still remember the first Avatar, one of the key person in the movie is a guy in a wheelchair, you know? And by going into the world of the avatars, he's basically not in a wheelchair anymore. So maybe somebody should now close the door there, you know, because I'm talking about the gaming. And also some examples from the gaming. So of course, gaming industry, they are laughing about metaverse because for them, they are already there since years. But my point is, I don't want the same metaverse for healthcare. So do I want to talk about violence, weapons, monsters, blood, noise, addiction? So maybe addiction I could stop, you know, because if we become addicted to our health, maybe there is not something wrong in that. If you do it the right way, if we take care more of our health, if we talk more about wellness and preventive care and all that, that addiction could be healthy. But the addiction that you see today with your kids, that you have to put limitation in front, you know, of the gaming station and whatever they are playing, I think that's not what I want, you know, for the healthcare. And of course, these are just a few examples, there are many more. So the healthcare metaverse should go in a different direction. So it's, first of all, it's giving access to care. We still have so many people around the world that don't have access to care. And there are many reasons why there is no access to care. We have a shortage, you know, in HCPs, nurses, whatever you want. but we have also people going to visit them where maybe they should not. So if I can avoid people that don't have to go to the HCPs and they only go when it's needed, I'm freeing up some of this limited capacity for the others. Medical education, that's of course a huge topic. You know, medical education, I'm still wondering with what I said before about our doctors. When do they have the time to take development, new technologies, education, when you know they have the waiting room that's already full? Sometimes I have the feeling I'm at the US border, sorry for some Americans here, you know, where it's like next, next, next. So they don't have time to really catch up, and all those technologies are going quicker and quicker. And by the way, medical education, I still would like to highlight one of my friends here, Professor Shafi Ahmed. I don't know who knows Professor Shafi Ahmed, but Professor Shafi Ahmed is the most watched surgeon in the world. And when I met him a few years ago back in London, I knew that he was doing, you know, VR training and stuff like that to medical students, and I thought it's about a few hundred people in a few, let's say 20 countries. Indeed, he did some session with more than 140 countries and 55,000 students. So just imagine how many years that would have been in classroom training to train 55,000 students in 140 countries. Then, of course, it's about removing barriers. You know, so physical barriers, geographical barriers, because everybody doesn't have access, you know. And in many countries, they are even closing hospitals, and we have less and less doctors. And then also, I call it psychological barriers, because who likes to go to the hospital? So somebody here wants to raise the hand? Somebody likes to go to the hospital? So I think if we can avoid to have the people going to the hospital when it's not needed, we are also helping them to feel, you know, more convenient for and treating their health and sharing their issues. And again, key point still the physical things, moving the point of care. So it could be in many different areas, but mainly like pre-operation. So the whole visit that you do before to the doctors before you go for surgery could be done in the metaverse, talking to your doctors and all that stuff. And again, it's the medical piece of it, but it's also the psychological piece I mentioned before. You can visit in the metaverse the hospital where you're going through, you can move around, you can talk to people in the metaverse, and then when the moment is coming, when you have to go to the hospital, you're already feeling in a familiar environment. And of course, the post-op. Post-op is very often an issue. You know, people are leaving the hospitals if they are far away from their places, you know. It's very difficult to have the right and the appropriate follow-up on after the surgery. So all that stuff could be done online, you know, in the metaverse. And then there's one, digital me. So the digital twin, but the digital twin of myself. That's something I'm dreaming about since years, you know, but we are coming closer to have that. So it's basically having a digital you in the metaverse, and once you can feed it with all the data, so being what you're eating, what are your social life, of course the sport, exercise that you're doing and all that, you can start to anticipate if you're going in the right direction or not. And it's like a GPS of yourself. You know, it's going to tell you there is a bottleneck there, maybe you should change direction. So that's what I see behind the digital me. And all that, you know, it's my version of the avatar, you know, it's not a game, it's not a superhero, but it's something that should be very close to yourself, to your data, and feeding with the right information, you could have warning and kind of preventive care and wellness. So, of course, sounds all nice, it's PowerPoint, so there are still some key challenges. So there are challenges from the HCPs and patients. You know, I'm lucky, but I'm also biased, you know, because I come to events like that. And when I talk to doctors here, these are the savvy doctors. These are the ones who come here to learn about the new technology and everything. But most of them are still back in the office. In some countries, we even have a huge generational gap. In Europe, there are some countries, I'm from France, sorry, nobody's perfect, but France, Germany, Switzerland, we have many doctors that are going to be retired in the next years. And there is a gap between those doctors and the next one. So a lot has changed, you know, in the medical schools and everything, you know, to basically try to fill that gap. But when you know how many years a medical student is going to school, it's going to take 7, 8 years before we have the new generation coming where we got more people in the school. So there's, of course, resistance to change. We could also talk about a nice topic, you know, which just came up, you know, ChatGPT version 4 now coming out and all that discussion, you know. How many discussions did I have with doctors telling me that, yeah, they say AI is going to replace me. And I say, oh my God, you know. So I'm giving consultation to doctors to say, look, that's not what AI is going to do. You know, first of all, it should not be artificial intelligence, it should be augmented intelligence. It's taking all the possible burden, paperwork, bureaucracy, whatever, pre-diagnosis, that could unleash some time, some valuable human time for the doctor. And so adoption and adaptability. I also should mention at this time, we talk about internet technology. So we should still keep in mind that the internet penetration in the world is around 67%. And that's in the world. Then you go by continent, by country. In Africa, it's less than 50%. Then some countries in Africa, like South Africa, is better than probably, I don't know, Ivory Coast or whatever. So there is still a lot of difference, and we should not increase that gap. We should work to reduce that gap and getting those technical, this infrastructure access for the people if you want to use those kind of technologies. Then from the technology, I think there were a few people already talking before about blockchain, you know, the whole interoperability and all that. We have so many different systems. And if you go to medical devices in the hospital, all the equipments are not talking to each other. So there's also one of the technical restrictions we have. And then, of course, scalability, that's linked to that. You know, we need solutions that can be scalable. And accessibility is probably back to what I said before in terms of having internet, having the right speed, having 5G, not having 5G, those kind of discussions. And then the last one. The last one, we talk a lot about it. And I could talk for hours about that one. So the whole healthcare data. So the discussion about data privacy. I personally, being from Europe, we have a huge discussion about GDPR, you know, and all that. I hate it. Because first of all, I think the people who are talking about those restrictions are not patient. Because patients are open to share the data if it allows them to get a better treatment and to get cured. So most of the people that are fighting and say we should not share health data are the ones which are not patient. And again, the other point, I had a discussion which is very different here in the region. In Europe, we are not good, sorry to say that, I may be old school. We are not good in punishing the people that are misusing the data. Because that's the point. If somebody misuses your health data, it should be punished. But because you are not good in doing that, then you ask everybody not to share data. And that's something which I think is very different in Dubai, because if you screw up, if you do something illegal in Dubai, I think they show you the way out or the way in, depending where you go. Data security. Yes, that's a bad topic. Years ago, I had people so like 10, 15 years ago, talking to me about hacking a pacemaker. And at that time I was thinking, nobody's going to do that. Who wants to hack a pacemaker? But today, those threats are here. And you probably heard a lot about the ransomware in the hospital and all that. Crazy things like that are happening. Last year, there was a patient in Germany, in Düsseldorf, dying because of a ransomware. He was on his way to the hospital that got attacked, and because they couldn't take him on, he had to be diverted to another hospital, and on the way to the other hospital, he died. So I think this security, because we have nice new technology, but sometimes the bad guys, they are even quicker in using those technologies. Regulation, as said, is a very regulated environment. So there are some things where regulations are too slow, but there are sometimes also where regulation is really needed. So we cannot ignore regulations, in the healthcare environments. And then the topics we always have, it's about ethics. So that applies to the metaverse, that applies, to AI, whatever, but we cannot ignore that there could be fraud, fake, and everything, So all that needs to be regulated, and we have to put some barriers, to avoid that those things are happening. So now, I think I'm coming close to the end. So that was at the Arab Health end of January. So it's already my third time I'm back in Dubai since beginning of the year. So I don't know what's happening here, but looks like I have a regular line back to Dubai. And the guy there next to me is Professor Shafi Ahmed, I mentioned before. So Professor Shafi Ahmed is the first Chief Medical Metaverse Officer for 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐬, the company you see there. And he's an amazing guy. And again, he's traveling all over the world. He's still a surgeon. That's the other point. He still needs to do surgery, because if you don't exercise, you're losing your dexterity. But he's an amazing guy in this topic. And on the right-hand side, this is Avalon. This is the first hospital in the metaverse, is in Dubai. And one of these buildings is actually even an auditorium. It's the Shafi Ahmed Auditorium. So because you can go to the hospital, but you can also go to the auditorium to get some education, some training, some developments. Unfortunately, I won't be able to play the video. So you can go on 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐬. I have a video link behind that, but because of the technical issues, I will not be able. But there are a few videos about that. Just type 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐬, Avalon, and you can find some videos of this metaverse hospital. And again, it's a very interesting company because they have already something. Because that's the point. A lot of people talk about the metaverse, like me, but they are companies that are already realizing it, and that's what we need. On the other side, I talked to the CEO because it's nice to have that, but as a patient, you don't want to have 100 metaverses to go in. So I said, you should also build around that, so that you have one entry point and you can have different things. And again, it's about hospitals, it's about an auditorium, it can be about a pharmacy and whatever. I'm not saying we need everything. You could argue, do you want the whole city? Do you want to buy shoes? Do you want to buy clothes is there? Maybe not, but at least for the healthcare, to have one entry. So I'm getting the sign that I'm coming to the end. So one thing which I think is also important is, instead of escaping from the real life and to get a fictive digital life, and that's a little bit what I still have the feeling, with the gaming industry, you go into the game and you go out. I think we should rather think about leverage a digital me in the metaverse to get a better real life. So for me, it's hybrid. We need the metaverse to be part of our life, not a separate life where I go out and in. And for me, the metaverse is going to be the biggest disruption after the smartphone. So you might think I'm crazy, you know, but some years ago, nobody was thinking that a smartphone is going to become what it is. And then, of course, it needs to be seamless also from a device, that you're not going to walk around, you know, with these big VR glasses and whatever. It must be something seamless. So they just cut my slides, but my last comment was, I'm going to, next time, when I'm in front of you, I'm not going to say healing the metaverse, transforming the healthcare industry, but I would like to talk about the healthy metaverse and about a hybrid future for healthcare. Thank you very much.